Alright, boys and girls, so today we're going to be practicing some questions that involve us finding the answer in fraction form, and we're going to be putting fractions together. So let's read story number 1. The neighborhood pumpkin patch had a successful business this season. They sold 2/5 of the pumpkins the first week and 3/10 of the pumpkins the second week. What fraction of the pumpkins had they sold at the end of the second week? All right, so it looks to me like we're wanting to find out the number or the fraction of the pumpkins that they sold at the end of the second week. So on my paper, I'm going to go ahead and draw a window pane. And I'll flip my camera over to show you what it is that I have, but just follow along until I do. And we want to turn that question into a statement. So I can turn that question into a statement by saying they sold blank fraction of pumpkin. And I'm just going to jot down those two amounts. So we have 2/5 the first week and 3/10 the second week. Alright, so this is what I have on my paper. So if you need to catch up because you need to copy it down, go ahead and pause that video. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going. And so if we know that we had 2/5 the first week and 3/10 the second week, then I'm going to be putting these two amounts together. So we're going to be combining them by adding. So out to the side, what I would do is I would draw two equal pictures. Remember from representing and solving the practice from Tuesday, we talked about making sure that our pictures are equal in size. That makes it easier to compare and look at. So my first picture, I'm going to need 5 equal pieces because my denominator is 5. So I'm going to cut this into 5 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to quickly just shade in 2 of those 5 pieces. My next picture, I need 10 equal pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and use my markings for 5. Just kind of replicate those down. Because I know that if I cut my 10th or my 5ths in half, then I will have 10 equal pieces. And that makes it easier to draw, but it also makes it a little more even to look at. And now I'm going to shade in 3 of those 10ths. Alright. So in this box, boys and girls, we've talked about making quick estimates so that when we get our exact answer, we know if it is reasonable. So when I think about the fraction 2/5, I think about, is it closer to 0? Is it closer to half? 0 would be over here, half would be kind of in the middle, and almost the whole would be the whole picture. So when I think about 2/5, is it closer to 0? Is it closer to half? Is it closer to 1/2? And so yes, I believe it's closer to 1/2. When I think about the fraction 3/10, it's probably closer to 1/2 than it is 0. And we know it's not even close to 1/2, so I'm going to write down 1/2. So a quick estimate would be 1/2 plus 1/2, which would give you 2/2. And we know anytime we have 2 over 2, that's our wonderful 1. So my answer should be pretty close to 1/2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite my expression. 2/5 plus 3/10. And right away I notice that I do not have common denominators. So one quick thing to do is to try to count by your 5s and see if you can get to 10. And yes, you can. So if I start with the fraction 2/5 and I skip count by 5s to get to 10, then I can skip count by 2s to get the number 4. So 4/10 is an equivalent to 2/5. So I'm going to write that equivalent here, right underneath. And since I already have 3/10, there's no need to make an equivalent for 3/10 because right now, if I rewrite that, I have common denominators. Then I can quickly put these two fractions together, and 4 plus 3 is 7, and of course my denominator does not change. My answer is 7/10. So right now I'll go back to my question, I'll write in my answer, and I probably need to ask myself if that's reasonable. Is 7/10 on its way to being a whole? Yes, it is, because I just need 3 more tenths to get to 10. And then another thing I could do is think about cutting these into tenths, taking my picture and modifying it. So if I have 4/10 here and 3/10 here, then I do get 7/10.